How's it going?
We're here.
We're here. So we wanted to make a quick video. We've had, the biggest question we get as brokers, and I'm sure that you get as agents, is this a market crash? Is this a bubble? What's going to happen? How is the market?
Yeah. It's very, it's alarming actually to a lot of agents, because if you look at the population of the realtor community right now, probably 50% of them have been in the business 5 years or less. So the only market that many of you have ever seen is the market that we're coming out of. So that reality is the only reality that you had to work with. But real estate markets come, they ebb and flow. There've been buyers markets, there's been sellers markets, there's been 19% interest rates, there's been foreclosures. I mean, a couple years ago, coming out of, when you started your company in 2007, we went into a crash.
It was a great time.
What a crazy time. I mean, we went into a situation where you talk about sellers wanting you and needing you. They'd have paid you 30% commission just to get rid of their house and get them out from underneath. They're doing short sales. So we've dealt with that. What the common element, though, is that professional agents survive all markets. I mean, there is no such thing as a balanced market. They'll tell you that if we had a 6-month supply of inventory and reasonable interest rates, that we would have the perfect utopia for a real estate market, but I've never seen it.
No.
I've never seen it.
No, something would certainly happen. And, I think one of the things that we tell our agents is we know it's shifting, and that's not a bad thing, right. But here's how you prepare for it.
Right.
It is not just go work your sphere. What does that mean? It's how you work your sphere of influence, how you work your database. Mm-hmm. So the things that are impactful and what we call revenue generating opportunities or money making, struggling for the word that I'm looking for here.
Yeah, well, so many people get in this market or get into business. They think it's going to be this way or that way, or that's not going to change. But there's always going to be need for professional services from agents, and what we have to have is systems in place to overcome these bumps in the road. People who have not done any preparation, have not got systems in place, have not been doing any prospecting, all of a sudden are going, what happened? My market has slowed down. I mean, I've got some really serious agents I've talked to that do a lot of business. There was one, actually, a RE/MAX agent out of Denver, Colorado, made $500,000 last year, and through the month, I think it was April, closed one transaction.
That's scary.
One. They thought that somebody shut the market down and forgot to tell them. So some of that can happen. I mean, it's an opportunity for agents to work their database. But I think you just said a mouthful. A lot of people say, well, make some calls, make some calls, make some calls. What's the call? What are you telling these people? One of the things that I think one of the most important things an agent can do is to calm the market and not create some of the stress. We're going to have a tight market for the next several years. The home builders, I saw some numbers that said since 2000 that there are about 4.3 million homes behind what we need. We're forming 1.5 million households a year. The millennials are now of age, and it's a huge, big bubble. I shouldn't say the word bubble, but it's a big bubble forcing the market. They're bigger than the baby boomers in terms of total population, and they're driving the economy. They're driving what's happening. And they're coming on, they're forming 1.5 million households a year, and HBA is building 800,000 houses a year. Well, do the math, we're stuck.
And I think if you put it in perspective too, it's easy for us as real estate professionals to see, hey, we had 2.5% interest rates, in the last few years, and now we're at 5+. And it's like, oh my gosh, that's scary. The purchase power is so much lower. I see a lot of loan officers putting out that information on, taxes have gone up, properties have increased by this much, and now purchase power is down. But the average first-time home buyer doesn't understand what any of that means. They don't know what a 5% interest rate looks like versus a 2.5%. Remember back to buying your first home. My first was at 6%. And I didn't care. Like, is that good? I didn't know what that meant. So to me, 6%, hey, is it within my budget? Is my payment okay? That's all I cared about. Right. And so we know these scare tactic articles put a lot of pressure on agents to say, oh, well, you need to lock in now because rates are going to continue to go up. But the average buyer, the millennial buyer, doesn't know what that means for them. Is housing going to be affordable for them? Maybe they change their search criteria a little bit. And how does it affect moving forward? So I think that's something to put into perspective. And when you talk about what do you say on those calls, it's all about providing value. One of the emails that we sent out last week in my market is AES, who is the major energy provider, just doubled their rate.
Ouch.
So they went from 5 cents per kilowatt hour up to 10.8. And that's a shock for a lot of people. That's a much bigger bill. But there are other things that you can do. There are other companies and cities and counties that have partnered up with these other providers that offer the same rate that you've been paying, and you can lock in for the next year and a half. Mm-hmm. That's a value-based conversation that you can have with your database, so that you're not just always calling them saying, hey, do you know of anyone looking to buy or sell? I'm here to help.
We've told a lot of people, I've been preaching this a little bit, and this comes from the maybe wisdom, maybe age, but experience, we'll call it. I've been doing this for a very, very long time. I started selling real estate when I was in college. And if you look back over that period of time, the average cost of money has been about 7.5% to 8%. There was higher ones, there's certainly lower ones. And what I've been telling everybody here today, that's been the average cost. That's what the whole market has been used to for years and years and years, and was able to move very nicely and have us to where about 65% of the country is homeowners. Early in the mid 2000s, when you started your company, President Clinton decided that they should increase the amount of percentage of people that owned a home, wanted to get that up. And guess what? They were successful, got up to about 69%, pushing 70%. But they did it by having some dangerous mortgage instruments out there, and they got us in trouble. There was a number recently I just saw that of all the mortgages last year in the United States, 75% of them had a credit score of 750 or higher.
Right.
Now, back in 2007, that was 25%.
Right.
So this isn't the same market. So the people that are worried about this crash, there is no crash. There will not be a crash. There's demand, there's lack of inventory, and we didn't do stupid borrowing.
Well, and I don't think, so it's not a bubble.
No.
It's not a crash.
No.
Will there be a market correction? A little bit. And I think, we've had multiple videos that we've done in the past on, hey, there's still a lot of homes in that forbearance area. Mm-hmm. Are they going to get out? When is that time going to happen when we have this flood of foreclosures? I don't think it's going to be a flood of foreclosures.
No.
I think you're going to see a lot of those people that were in distress, or even landlords. I've gotten multiple sensationalism emails of, hey, there's millions of landlords looking to get out because they haven't received rent in 2 years. And it's like, no, that's not necessarily what's going to happen. So take a step back and be very objective on what the market is doing, and realize there are still multiple buyers for every home out there. We're maybe not seeing 30 offers. I am in some of our offices and markets seeing multiple offers, 10s to 20s. On properties that are in very hot and hard to buy locations. So I think that will continue for the near term, even maybe through the end of the year.
Right.
But I think you're already seeing the slow in some areas. You're not seeing 50 showings in 4 hours.
Right.
You're getting 10 over 3 days, which is still incredible. You and I remember the days when average time on market
for a showing
was over 100 days. And it's like, that doesn't exist. And some of these agents haven't experienced that. So don't panic, but polish your skills on how to market a home. It's not the 3 Ps, put a sign in the yard, put it in the MLS and pray. It's you have to learn how to market a property. So be creative, do your research. There's plenty of videos. Watch some of our Agent After Hours or Bourbon and Real Estate where we've gone over that stuff.
Well, one of our agents the other day, a highly successful agent, our firm, somebody said, why are you still doing these videos? And why are you still doing all that marketing on something that's going to be sold within 72 hours? And her answer was, I want the market to know how I market a home. And as it changes, they're going to be looking at the person who's doing the marketing.
Yep.
So I'm not going to change that. My videos are going to be out there on YouTube. My stuff's going to be on Facebook. People are going to know me and know that I know how to market a home. Everybody else has kind of skipped that step. And the other piece of that, we talk about the financing a lot, is what I've been trying to tell a lot of people is a lot of agents are saying, rates are going up, rates are going up. No, they aren't. Rates are settling back into the average market. What's been happening is that the government forced interest rates down by purchasing all the treasury notes. They forced it down to the 2% range because they wanted us to have this super borrowing power. They've now let their foot off the pedal on that, and they're letting it correct back to the market. The market wasn't 2.5% for money. That was a sale. So what I've been telling a lot of people is just tell somebody, you know what, it's just like you missed an opportunity. Kohl's had a sale and you weren't in town, so you didn't get to buy whatever they had, or the car was on sale. We had a mortgage sale for a couple of years and you missed it. We're back to normal now. It doesn't look like, everything I read, it's not going to leave the fives, I don't think, this year.
I predicted 5% interest rates 3 years ago. Prior to COVID,
Yeah.
I thought 2019 we were going to see it, and we didn't. So
And once we settle into that for a little while, then all these millennial buyers and people that are sitting on the sideline right now, they're going to say, okay, that's the new norm. I actually did a mortgage thing just this morning for a $200,000 loan, just playing with it to see what happened. If they missed out on the 2.5% and then now they're buying at 5.25 or financing at 5.25, the payment went up about $300 a month. Now I know that's $300 a month, but that's not the end of the world. It means you're looking at a $300,000 house maybe instead of $375. It's still pretty significant buying power. If you want to get sick for a minute, let me take you back to 1980 when I was selling real estate and interest rates were shooting up toward 20%. It's 16% if I borrowed that $200,000, $2,689 a month versus $790 a month at the 2.5%.
it's crazy.
That was significant. But you know what? Successful agents were successful in that market as well. Successful agents adjust to market conditions and figure out how to deal with them and understand that they're not going to be the same forever.
No, absolutely. We see the markets evolve, both buy side, sell side. We've seen these cycles. Real estate's very cyclical, and it always has been. So you've seen more than I have, but I learned very quickly, 2007, opening an office, that hey, I needed to systemize my business because
Right.
I didn't have the extra money to hire more staff to help me with all of these things. And so getting the systems in place now, I think, is more important than ever. With your marketing, with your transactions, your documentation, everything that you do needs to be systematized. And so one of the things that we have here that I think helps agents with that is our full leverage program.
Right.
And if you guys are watching this and have no idea what that is, give us a shout. We're happy to share you a quick link and give you a sneak preview of it. But it really does teach agents that this is running a business. This isn't
Correct.
This isn't a job where a lot of agents, and I remember I was guilty of it, a lot of agents jump into real estate, and I showed up at 9 a.m. on a Monday and said, okay, what do I do? And it was like...
Stock that shelf,
Yeah.
sweep the floor.
Yeah, I had no idea what I was getting into, and I think a lot of the agents that are in the business now, I mean, I hate saying it because I think the business or the real estate industry is underserved because there's not enough training or education. 80% of agents fail in the first 2 years, and that's a bad statistic. But I think if you are taking the steps to better yourself as an agent, to learn the industry, to learn marketing, and run your business like a business instead of work in your business like an employee, you will succeed. And so that's what this teaches you to do. It teaches you to run a business. So like I said, reach out to us if you're interested in learning more about that.
I think the good news about a bad market is it forces you to go back to the basics. And, I see this all the time when agents will leave one company to go to another. And there's success. I don't care if you go from ABC, unbranded company, to the biggest brand in the world. Every time somebody makes a move, their business goes up the first year. And why is that? They return to the basics. And that's really what we're saying here.
Let everybody know that you made a switch.
Do what you were always supposed to do and watch your volume go up.
Right.
The relationship sales you're talking about, to get back to that and make sure that you're working your database properly, but you're having relationship sales. Instead of worrying about the thing, go have a cup of coffee with some friend. It didn't have to be a real estate call, but by the time that coffee's over, you're going to be talking real estate. They're going to be talking real estate, and you're going to walk out of there with a lead. My first broker told me, get out of the office and let somebody meet you. And I thought that was backwards. I was supposed to go out to meet people. She says, no, get out of the office and let somebody meet you. And she would not. This was unique. We were in a little town where there was a bunch of little diners and things around. She would go across about 10:30 or so every morning. She'd take off to one of the diners and go in and get a cup of coffee and sit there instead of going in the back and get a coffee or whatever. And she'd come back in just to show us young kids that we didn't know what we were doing. She'd have a name and a phone number on the back of her business card and hand it to us. And she'd say, see, you got to get out and meet some people. You got to get out and let them meet you.
Absolutely. And one of the most powerful emails we've ever sent out to our database was, can I buy you a cup of coffee this week? Mm-hmm. That short and sweet. And that's all it has to be. And if you don't have their emails, send it on Facebook Messenger. That is one of the best use cases. You know, just, hey, haven't heard from you in a while. Want to see if you want to grab coffee this week. Yeah. And don't bring up real estate. They're going to ask you what you do or what you've been up to, and it will certainly come up. So it's make it happen organically. Don't be the pushy salesperson, because nobody wants that. No. One of the most successful realtors I know, they literally lived in Starbucks for the first 3 hours of every morning. Mm-hmm. And they would sit there and they had their branded, you know, on the back of their laptop,
on their laptop,
ask me about real estate. But they would just put a stack of their business cards on the counter. They'd ask the barista and say, hey, I want to buy the next 5 or 10 people coffee. So when they came up, and they would just say, you know, think that guy over there. And he's sitting there with his branded polo and, you know, asked me about real estate there. And it worked really, really well, because inevitably they would say, hey, you know, how is the market?
Right.
And it cost him 5 cups of coffee, exactly. 10.
You know, I think the other thing that people miss is that get out there and actually do. There's 2 things I think that are critical to most agents. This can feel very lonely sometimes as a career. You feel like you're out there all by yourself, and you hear the limb cracking behind you, and you're going, oh, you know, what's going on there. But being in an environment where you've got support and you have coaching, I believe strongly in the coaching. You know, you've got people like Joey Votto, who certainly knows how to hit a baseball. He's been doing it since he was 6 years old. He is constantly working on improving, tweaking this, tweaking that, doing it just a little bit different. And I watch some of the best agents, and they work on their scripts and their dialogues. And I know you don't want to be pre-programmed, but there are certain things that you can be doing to increase the likelihood that this contact is going to be something. And I strongly believe in the coaching.
Did you read Cheplak's email this week?
No.
Oh, literally, it was almost verbatim what you said. It was talking about, hey, if you want to earn, you know, professional athlete money,
right,
you got to train like a professional athlete.
Yeah.
And it's these guys day and night are, you know, Tom Brady still goes in and watches film. He's still out there making how many passes in spring training. So, yeah, you've got
how many ball. Even this is a baseball analogy. Somebody was talking to me this the other day, but. You know, you think that Joey Votto and some of these other guys, you know, they're great hitters, and they're in there working on sliders and fastballs in the corner. They hit most of the balls off of a tee. You got kids playing t-ball that are 6 years old. Guess what? So's the 36-year-old professional athlete. They practice what they're doing. They coach. They review, and they have people that are keeping them accountable. And I think the accountability piece is the biggest piece. It's something that we've got in our company. You know, internal coaching, which I think is great. Hopefully you have it in your company, but if you don't have it in your company, there's also third-party sources where you can go out and have coaching where it keeps you responsible. And it's not that it's not even necessarily what the coach is saying. It's the fact that once a week maybe you have to check in with somebody, and did you do what you said you were going to do the next week?
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, accountability is huge, because it's easy to wake up and say, oh, this came up or that came up.
Right.
I'll do it tomorrow. But if you have somebody holding you accountable, and I think if you look at your bottom line at the end of the year or end of the month even,
right?
Hey, I made this many calls, and it resulted in this many appointments, which resulted in this many sales. Mm-hmm. This is a simple numbers game, guys. X amount of conversations,
right? You
know, per week or per day equals X amount of appointments equals X amount of deals. So,
yeah, one of the best coaches I think in the business, or at least lines up with my personality maybe, is because lots of good coaches out there, but Tom Ferry. Mm-hmm. And he said he oversimplifies, and there's probably 1,000 videos. If you do Tom Ferry and do a Google search, you're going to find all kinds of stuff on YouTube about every kind of topic. But he oversimplifies, and he says it's 5542. And I said, what's 5542? So I'm listening. It's 5 people. You're going to make 5 calls every day to your hot people. You're going to make 5 calls every day to your database trying to warm somebody else up. You're going to try to find 4 people today that you can put into your database, and you're going to do 2 videos a week. I think video. You're one of the kings of video, but I think video is so important as a message for agents, is to let the people get to know you. And film 2 videos, and it doesn't have to be about real estate. It can just be about anything, but they get to know your personality. One of our agents just recently, I think you might have interviewed her on this one, but she said she does a lot of TikTok stuff, and she's very, very good at the video. And she ended up getting a listing recently because the people said, I feel like I already know you. I've seen you. I've seen your videos.
Yep.
I already feel like I know who you are. You're not that cold name and phone number.
Well, and you got to think, when you go into a listing appointment, you're walking into somebody's home. And you think about, like, if somebody knocked on your door, would you let them into your home if they're selling something? And it's like, no. So they're reaching out. They're terrified that you're coming into their home. What are you going to think? Are you going to judge them? Is it clean enough? Is it dirty enough? What is it worth? All of these thoughts and emotions are going through their head that we forget about because we're numb to it. We do this on a daily basis. So think about if you're in a listing presentation against that agent, that they've watched her videos. People work with you because they know, like, and trust you. And video allows you to have the consumer get to know you, hopefully like you, and it will already build on that trust before you've ever even met them. So what you said was perfect earlier. The agent that's doing video because nobody else is, they're skipping that step. The other thing that video does is it's evergreen. It lasts forever. Mm-hmm. People can go back. You said there's thousands of Tom Ferry videos. They can watch those anytime. People can go back and see, what did you say about the market in 2017? What did you say about it, here? Did you give a market update on this particular neighborhood at this time? Did you go and tell what your favorite restaurants were? Do what you're passionate about. I sent out the electric email because I was like, I like to save money. Mm-hmm. So I sent that email out to my entire database. We got a ton of responses that said, thank you so much. Had no idea these programs were even available. Yeah. That's something I'm passionate about, is electric costs and solar panels and all that garbage. But you're going to relate with people on video based on your personality. And those are the people that you want to work with. Mm-hmm. You're not going to get along with everybody, and that's okay. But you're going to attract those people that you have similar interests. So if your thing is food, go out and do videos on food. If your thing's parks or dogs, go do videos on that stuff, because you're going to relate to those people as well. It doesn't have to be 10,000 people that you're reaching on every video. It could be 1,000, but you want to connect with them.
Another thing I think that's critical to a lot of people, and I think a lot of people underestimate it, is the power of a brand. It was once told to me that Coca-Cola, if it had zero product, just the name Coca-Cola and the logos, was worth something like $1 billion or something.
Nuts.
Just if you owned Coca-Cola, without a bottling plant, without a can, without any product. And you think about that, and a lot of agents are out there trying to brand themselves, which I think is a smart move. You should do that. But I really believe you should be branding yourself in conjunction with your brand. Sure. There are some major brands. In our case, we've got one that's the largest in the world. Did 2 million transactions last year worldwide. That's big. Why not use that, for your benefit? And in whatever company you work with, build off your company's strengths and brand with your company, co-brand with your company. There's some companies out there, there's some agents out there that want to, the company colors might be green and white, I don't know. But to separate themselves into a pack, they want to have, red and purple. Well, how many red and purple signs are you going to see throughout your marketplace? Just the 3 that you have. But how many of the other signs you're going to see that your company has around the marketplace? So you need to really be smart, and it's not recreate the wheel. There's already been a ton of money spent on that brand. Use that brand and stand on the shoulders and to take yourself up higher. I think too many people try to solo brand, and I think that's a mistake.
Can I be honest with you? Mm-hmm. I don't love the balloon. I think it's kind of a silly logo, but it's recognizable, and they spent millions and millions of dollars branding that balloon, right, and it's become iconic. The only other one that I can think of that has a logo like that was Prudential, right? The big rock, and I remember seeing that on sporting events because Prudential sponsored everything, and now they're not Prudential anymore. So branding certainly is important, and I remember seeing a case study where they actually took the branding off the balloon and said, "What is this?" And it was
Right.
the balloon. So
It's really weird. I mean, we've been fortunate enough to take a few European travels, and at every country I've been in, there's a daggone red, white, and blue balloon. One day we were in the Czech Republic of all places, and my wife gives me elbow. We're in a bus heading back to the airport, I think, and there was this wrapped car going next to us. An agent had this Remax wrapped car. I went, God, even in the Czech Republic, I can't get away from Remax. But whether it's that or whatever, I mean,
Nike
you
swoosh.
sell whatever you have.
yeah,
Yeah, you got to sell what you have. But if your company is local and has a good local brand, build on that. I'm not saying you have to be a Remax brand, but build on your company's brand and make sure that you get the collective. Like I always say, there's a lot of smart people in the room, but they're collectively as a genius. Same way with the marketing. You can do pretty good on listings, but you're not going to have a market share of listings that anybody's going to see. You just can't. You can't do a sign drive-by.
just our office as an example, over right around 4,000 sales last year, and that's 4,000 signs or
Right.
posts on social media, probably even more than that.
Right.
So if they all look the same, the power of the brand is huge.
Right.
That's why our yard signs all look the same. If they don't, you're one out of that 4,000. You're maybe 5 or 10, but you're not getting exposure of 4,000 or even bigger than just our firm.
Right.
Even more Remaxes. So take advantage of that. Don't use it to your advantage. Don't try to stand out above that crowd.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I just used that and I didn't mean to. Check out above the crowd if you haven't. But so yeah, utilize the brand to your advantage.
I think the major message of all of it, though, is just return to the basics.
Mm-hmm.
The most fun business you can do is the business that's with people that you know, you like, you've done business with it before. Take time and do that. Get rid of some of the paperwork stuff. Let somebody else handle the assistant kind of stuff. And you think how much fun it is if your schedule is, I'm having 5 coffees this week and 3 lunches. And it seems like you're just going out to have a good time.
Right.
I guarantee you, if you have 5 coffees and 3 lunches a week, you don't need to do any other marketing. Return to the basics.
I feel like we should have a challenge within our office.
How many coffees I can say?
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, if you have questions on anything we went over today, we're happy to answer. If you want to check out our full leverage training, we're happy to, like I said, send you that sneak peek. So thank you so much for watching, and love to hear what you think the market's going to do.
See ya.